So before we start, okay, sorry. Okay, so just to while we are waiting for everyone to join in, for those who are joining via phone, please ensure that your audio is connected to your phone so that you can hear and use the microphone. All right. And then also please ensure that your microphones are muted. Okay. So let me start the recording. Okay. All right. I see some familiar names. Okay. So greetings from Study Abroad Unit. Welcome to our first Study in Ireland online webinar series. So the topic for today is we will be talking about careers, all right, in Ireland. So my name is Yiming from TAR UC Study Abroad Unit. And basically joining us today, we have John Andy Bonner, the Vice President for Research, Equality and External Affairs, and Jill Murphy, International Education Manager, Edward Ng, Senior International Student Ambassador, and they are from the Letterkenny Institute of Technology. So today's webinar, we are co-organizing with Letterkenny Institute of Technology and also My Study Education Consulting. So basically what we will be talking today is the career path, and we also have an LYIT alumna, Amandi, who is currently working in as a quantity surveyor by profession. So students, anyone who is studying quantity survey, use the chat box and say hi. Anyone?
What?
Anyone from quantity surveying?
Quantity.
So yes, you have a junior here. All right.
Hello.
So if you have any questions with regards to careers, you can ask Amandi. She will be sharing her experience later in the talk. But before we start, all right, just a little bit of housekeeping. Okay, we will first have our speakers to deliver their presentation. Okay, and followed by the Q&A session later. So basically, we will be having our guest speakers to share their experiences and share what they have to say about the career in Ireland, how it works, the visas, and also some insights about the opportunities and career pathways available. So throughout the session, throughout the presentation, please mute your microphones. And if you have any questions, please use the chat box, okay, to type your questions, and we will answer it at the end, at the Q&A session. And if you have difficulties with unstable connection, turn off your video camera, okay, to consume less data. All right. So the time is 8:38. So we will first start off the session. Okay. I'll hand over the session to Mr. Edward. Okay. So Edward, take it away.
Take it away.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Yiming. Can you all hear me? Yeah. All right. So good evening, everyone in Malaysia. Well, it is currently around 12:30 in Ireland here in the afternoon. And first of all, thank you very, very much for having us today to share about the topic, why choose Ireland for career plans, and to introduce Letterkenny Institute of Technologies as a possible higher education destination to fellow students in TAR UC. Together with me today, we have, as Yiming mentioned just now, Jill Murphy, the International Education Manager, and John Andy Bonner, our Vice President for Research, Equality and External Affairs, and also Amandi, one of our alumna from LYIT. So in the next hour, we will begin by telling you why you should plan your career in Ireland. and from recent graduates' perspective, and also an overview of national and regional employers by John Andy. And then Jill will introduce you to LYIT and some popular programs that we have in LYIT. And finally, as Ying mentioned just now, and ending the session with a Q&A. So please feel free to stop typing your questions in the chat box, or maybe in the Q&A session, you can turn on your video and turn on your mic to ask us a question directly. So before I start, please allow me to introduce my background briefly. I graduated from Sunjin High School, Kuala Lumpur in 2016, made my move to Ireland in 2017 for my law degree, and I graduated from class 2020 with first class honors in LYIT. I was the co-founder and first council vice president of the Malaysian Student Association of Ireland in 2019/20, and I currently work full-time as a senior international ambassador in LYIT. So without further ado, let's begin. And we will begin by talking you through working part-time in Ireland. So generally, when international students we arrive in Ireland, we will apply and receive a STEM 2 permit, which is something similar to a student visa, though technically it's not, which allows us to engage in a full-time course under the ILEP, and also, very interestingly, it allows us to work 20 hours per week. While the minimum wage in Ireland currently is 10 euro and 20 cents per hour, and that's approximately 50 ringgit, Malaysian ringgit. So while I was a student in LYT over the past 2 years, I worked in a Chinese restaurant, and then I worked for, say, for example, for 2 days a week. So with that, say, for example, 10 hours per week, I managed to save around 400 euro per month, which is almost 2,000 Malaysian ringgit. And it was totally sufficient to fully cover my rental and living costs for a month. But that is provided that you live in Letterkenny, of course, because the living cost here is so much more affordable than other cities in Ireland, which Jill will touch base later towards in her presentation. And so usually mostly part-time opportunities that are available in Letterkenny or throughout Ireland, it is working in restaurants, takeaways, cafes, retails, and some students, they work in supermarkets. So what happens after you graduate? After we graduate, you may be eligible to the third level STEM 1G graduate visa, which is available for non-EU international students, including ourselves. It is introduced under the third level graduate visa scheme by the Irish government. This STEM 1G visa, we call it, it allows third level graduates from non-EU to work in Ireland and for 40 hours per week, and possibly lead to applying for a general employment permit or critical skills employment permit, which we will briefly introduce later in the future. So say if you complete an honors degree, or we call it the level 8 degree here, you'll be able to apply for a maximum of 12 months of STEM 1G visa. And within that 1 year's time, you can utilize the time to search for a job and also be engaged in employment, of course. And if you graduated with a level 9 or master's degree or level 10 PhD degree, you'll be entitled to maximum of 24 months, 2 years of STEM 1G visa. It is important to note that you must have received the above award, the degree from a qualifying awarding body, including like LYIT. And with that visa, you'll be allowed to work 40 hours per week full-time. One thing in specific that I would like to let you all know today is the STEM 1A visa, which is specifically dedicated to trainee accountants who successfully secured a traineeship with an accounting firm in Ireland upon their graduation. So that allows a trainee accountant to work in Ireland for a maximum of 4 years, and then until the completion of the traineeship, and then that will possibly lead to a general employment permit or critical skills employment permit. So generally, general employment permit (GEP), all occupations are deemed eligible to apply for it, with some exceptions, of course. And then you can click on the link, or search on the link for the thorough list of exceptions there if you are interested in. And this employment permit will either be applied by the paid and applied by the prospective employer or yourself, and it can be issued for up to the initial 2 years, and it may be further renewed for up to 3 years. And with 5 years in total, you will be able to apply for a long-term residency, which is STEM 4 in Ireland, which we won't be going too much, which we won't be talking too much about it today. But in general, STEM 4 is a like long-term residency permit in Ireland, and then you'll be able to like continue working in Ireland without a maximum period time limit, as long as you have a job, as long as you're engaged in employment here. So, all fundamentally similar to the GEP, the critical skills employment permit leads to the eligibility for long-term residency after the period of the permit has ended. So basically, it has a shorter time window here. It is to attract highly skilled professionals such as ICT professionals, professional engineers, and technologists. However, the difference is you'll need to secure a 2-year job contract instead, and which has at least a remuneration of 32,000 euro per year and subject to a list of eligible occupations. Alternatively, the job you secure must have a remuneration of 64K salary per year. And again, subject to some exceptions. Everything has, exceptions. So yeah, moving on, I would like to talk through, I'll be sharing some general insights about planning your career in Ireland with some statistics. And I'll be introducing some graduate profiles from LYIT who are Malaysians as well and currently working in Ireland. And also, before I end my part, I will introduce Mandy to share her experience working in Ireland. So generally, final year students in Ireland, we start looking for jobs from late semester 1 to early semester 2, which is around November to January. And some of us has actually managed to secure a job contract even before we graduated. For example, Amanda, who is with us here today. Yeah, a really great advantage for planning your career in Ireland is that graduate programs and most internships are paid and above minimum wage here in Ireland, while many graduate programs here in Ireland, they last for 1 to 2 years. On top of that, another really great benefit is that companies in Ireland, they love to retain their graduates or interns that had engaged with their programs and lead them into a permanent role. So a great difference, another solid reason here that I would like to really highlight about working in Ireland is the great difference in the workplace between working in Ireland and working in Malaysia in terms of the work culture. So as I'm working in Ireland here, and maybe Amanda can share a bit of her experience as well, we can tell that employers here, they emphasize a lot about work-life balance, and they take care about their employees' benefits, personal well-being, such as our mental health. They promote a lot of companies. You can see they are actively encouraging diversity and inclusion, which is a very big thing here now in Ireland. And some of them, they even have like open door policy, etc. So now here are some statistics that I would like to share with you. So these statistics, I extracted them from the Graduates Outcome Survey, which was conducted by the Higher Education Authority in Ireland back in 2018. That is the latest version that we have now, because they are currently conducting the latest survey in 2021 and it's still ongoing. So based on this survey in 2018, we can see that a whopping 74% of international graduates were engaged in full-time employment, and then another 5% of them were engaged in part-time employment, and also some of them they were working. They were due to start a job within the next 3 months. So that total up leads to an 80% of international graduates who were engaged in employment after their graduation. And this graph here, it shows the difference of, say, maybe employability, or what the international graduates in Ireland went on to do after their studies, based on what kind of level of study they were engaged in. So it is evident that postgraduate students, aka master students, either taught or research, they have a higher rate of employment they have a higher employment rate after their studies. About 85%, 84% of them were engaged in employment after their graduation, while 59% of about 65%, sorry, in total of international graduates that achieved an honors degree, which is level 8 degree, were engaged in employment, as 26%, a good 26% of them went on for further studies, for example, master's or PhD after their studies. So salary, I bet many of you are looking forward to have an insight about salary in Ireland. So this graph here, it shows international graduate salary, but of course it depends on what kind of qualifications you have, how many years of work experience you have, and which disciplines you're working at. But in general, international graduates, fresh graduates who achieved honors degree or master's degree, you are most likely to fall within the 25,000 euro to 35,000 euro range, which is about 100,000 Malaysian ringgit to 150,000 Malaysian ringgit for a year. And yeah, you can do a quick maths that it is really good for us to, quickly recover the expenses that we had when we were studying in Ireland. Okay, so another graph here. Oops. Anyways, this graph here, it shows the average salaries across disciplines. So you can have a look over here. I'm not going to read through it, every single one of it, but you can easily have a look here for a while. All right, so if you are interested in these statistics, you can Google Graduate Outcome Survey 2018 by HEA Ireland, and you can have a thorough read of this comprehensive report there. So following that, I would like to introduce you to some graduate profiles that we have who are Malaysians as well, and they are currently working full-time in Ireland. So our graduates, they are really excellent, including T. Xiaoman. She graduated from LIT with a master's in science in marketing practice, and she's currently a senior fraud analyst in Amazon Ireland, and she was also a student from TAR-UC back in Malaysia. And the next graduate is Chin Siyao. He graduated from LIT with a Bachelor of Science in Computing, Cloud and Green Technology, and he's currently working as a worldwide developer relations in Apple in Cork. And he graduated from INTI KL before coming to LYIT. Next on, we have Jessica. Jessica graduated from Bachelor of Accounting, and she's currently working as a fraud analyst as well because she had another diploma in data analytics and business analytics. And she's currently working in Amazon as well. She's from TAR-UC Penang. And we have Kalina. Kalina, she graduated from LIT with a master's in accounting, and she's currently working as a trainee accountant in Letterkenny, and she was also a student from TAR-UC. Next on is Sean. Sean graduated in accounting as well, and he's currently working as an audit associate with GT Dublin. And that's Sean here. And then following that, I would like to introduce you to Amandi, who will be talking about her experience working in Ireland. So Amandi graduated in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, with a quantity surveying degree, and she's currently working as a graduate quantity surveyor with Mitchell McDermott in Dublin, which this permanent role, she secured it while she was working as an intern with them during her studies. So Amandi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amandi, and thanks, Edward, for introducing me. So I'll be sharing my background and the work culture in Ireland. I hope everyone hears me okay. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so I came to Ireland in 2015 to study a full 4 years quantity surveying course. And the third year of the course is a work placement year. That means you get out to get employment and you work for a full year. But before that, after I finished my first year, Letterkenny IT organized an industry day where they invited a lot of companies and employers to be there. So I had the opportunity to meet my current employer. So then I got an internship opportunity. So after I finished my first year, I worked for 3 months for them, and they're happy with me. So they said, okay, feel free to come back to us. So after I finished my second year, I went back to them, did my internship, and then my full third year work placement with them. And then they're happy with me too. So after I graduated, they said, okay, come back to us. So I secured a full-time job with them. That's kind of a very quick background of how I secured the job. Oh yeah, so the internship was paid too. So I got paid the minimum salary, which helps to cover my expenses, and I still can have some savings after that. So yeah, and in terms of the work culture, I have, I think, 4 or 5 points here to share. So in the company I was working for, at the beginning, there were 10 people, and now it's nearly 60 people after 4 or 5 years. I was the only girl at the beginning, but after that, they got more girls to join the company. So at the beginning, I was like, awkward, but yeah, it's fine. They're all very friendly. It's all Irish people, and my boss, he worked with Malaysians before, so he knows a bit about Malaysians. So the company I work for, as I said at the beginning, is a bit small. So there's no hierarchy or anything. They're very friendly, and you can go into the boss's room and talk to them, and can joke around with them. And now there are more hierarchy, like there's directors, and then associate directors, and senior QSs, and then graduate QSs. But still, the culture is still kind of similar. People work, but they also have fun at the same time. And one thing I wasn't used to at the beginning was every week they always ask you, "Oh, how's your weekend?" And I was like, don't know what to say. But now I know I just need to say, "Oh yeah, what did I do during the weekend? Maybe I visited places, or it was a quiet weekend." So yeah, they care about your weekend. And the second point is the party culture, drinking culture, something I wasn't used to when I first joined Ireland, because that's the way they know people. So like for me, I'll be like, I don't know you, I don't really want to go out with you. But for them, it's like, oh, I don't know you, that's why we need to go out, and then we need to hang out, and then we get to talk to each other and know each other. So it's similar. They organize parties, and you get to go to pubs and socialize with them. But you don't need to drink, even though you don't know how to drink. You just say, "Oh, I don't drink," and you can order like Coke or orange juice, and you just need to stay there and hang out with them. The third point is slagging. So they like to slag each other. Slag kind of means joking around, kind of teasing you. So it's their way of showing kindness. So they slag you, and you can see them slagging each other. But if you're, for example, me, I'm from Malaysia, they probably won't slag you too much, just in case they offend you. So I'm happy with that. And then the fourth point is, I don't think, for Malaysia, I didn't have too much working experience, but I can find that sometimes the bosses might, if they get angry or emotional, they will let it out on you. But here, no, they'll be polite, and you can see that they're not happy, but they won't scold you or anything. They'll just be like, tell you what's going on, what should we do? Yeah. And the fifth point is work-life balance. Yeah, they care about work-life balance. They'll be like, don't work late, you have to go home. But it depends on the industry. Like quantity surveying, it can be stressful sometimes, and there can be deadlines, and you probably need to stay late sometimes, but they will say, okay, you need to start to get your rest now after you finish the workload. Yeah, so that's my experience. I hope I didn't talk too fast. Feel free to ask me any questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Amandi. That is really interesting sharing that. I always enjoy listening to you sharing your experience in Ireland. And yeah, so I guess that marks the end of the first part of today's webinar. Following that, I would like to, hold on, yeah. Please allow me to introduce John Andy. John Andy, who is our Vice President of LYIT for Research, Equality, and External Affairs. And John Andy will be providing you with an overview of the national and regional employers in Ireland and also in Letterkenny. John Andy?
So good afternoon to everyone from Letterkenny here in the northwest region of Ireland. I know it's your evening, but it's a wonderful pleasure to say hello to everyone online, and thank you very much for allowing us to do so. I suppose in the first instance, I should thank Yi Ming for his generosity in facilitating us, and also our good friends CK and Melissa from my study, who are always terribly generous with their time. I don't imagine that we could have had two better ambassadors to speak for us, Yi Ming. We're so impressed by the caliber and the passion and interest in learning of our Malaysian students. They really are a pleasure. So it's been a huge delight for us to have the experience of seeing Edward and Amanda really excel in their programs of study and now move to the next stage of their careers. And it's something that we're terribly passionate about. We're parents ourselves, and we know acutely the power and potential of good quality higher education and how it can provide pathways for graduates into extremely important careers. So we're hugely pleased to see Edward excelling so well, and Amanda tells a very, very powerful story. I think, if I'm right, Amanda, that your employers were so impressed with you after your first summer, they wanted to keep you. So
yeah.
I think it speaks volumes for, and I also think that there is something very unique about the personality of Irish people and how similar we appear to be to our wonderful friends from Malaysia. So I do hope that that provides a warm sort of cultural connection. We do have the same values for our families. To see our young people do well in their education and to progress into their careers. So Ireland's at a very interesting juncture at the moment. Very obviously, in Edward's slide there, we're described as the Silicon Valley of Europe. The Irish government have an extremely interesting and hugely attractive taxation, regulatory affairs, and a very pro-business environment, which is extremely encouraging, particularly for international companies to locate. So there we have, at the moment, just over 1,000 multinational corporations right across Ireland, employing almost 350,000 people. And it's incredible, but it's true, that even last year, in the middle of the worst pandemic for over 100 years, the Irish economy was one of the few which actually grew worldwide. Now, that's that's because essentially we have two economies. We have our own indigenous economy, which tends not to export, tends to be family owned and family run, and is a little bit traditional in the best sense of the word. But overlaid on top of that, we have an extremely modern global economy. And you can see on that slide there, just some of the companies. We have, probably 90% of the leading companies in medical technology, financial services, ICT, pharma. And this is the turbo boost that drives the Irish economy. These employers simply cannot get enough skilled graduates to help them achieve their objectives. We're also, as you will be aware, now the only English-speaking country in the European Union. And we're very international in our outlook. And what we have discovered over the last year, as companies in the UK and in particularly Northern Ireland, we're preparing for Brexit. Many of them are establishing presences in Ireland in order to have a sort of bi-jurisdictional presence. Edward, you'll be aware of this from your own law, regulatory affairs background. All of our accountants are very much in demand. The Irish government as well we've been through a global recession a number of years ago, and now Brexit and the pandemic. But the government is extremely interested in investing in our infrastructure. So as Amanda outlined, her company would be one of many that are growing very dramatically, and again are creating opportunities for engineers, for technologists, for quantity surveyors, for architectural technologists right across the spectrum. So we're at a very, very interesting juncture. And even this year, we still have record levels of employment of our graduates. The big four accounting firms in Ireland would be very much the big four accounting firms right across the globe: Deloitte, Ernst & Young, KPMG, and PricewaterhouseCoopers. And there's extraordinary opportunities right across those organizations as an indication, really, of the financial services sector in Ireland. And one of the unique aspects of our programs at LYIT is we work very, very closely with employers, particularly professional employers, across areas like accounting, technology, engineering in all of its various manifestations, the legal professions, so that when our graduates finish their programs of study, they are literally job ready to start almost straight away. So embedded in all of our programs are these very important applied skills, which are so much in demand for by employers. In the northwest of Ireland, in our region, we're very close to Northern Ireland. We're about 40 kilometres from Derry City in the west of the province of Ireland. And on campus at LYIT, we have the biggest campus incubation centre on any higher education campus in Ireland. We call it CoLab. And CoLab also fits within my sort of management portfolio. And very often, we are able to negotiate very attractive summer employments and internships with the key employers in CoLab. CoLab is an incubation centre which is designed to support technology, financial services, and other high potential startup organizations. They love the ambience of campus. They love the interaction with our students, particularly our international students. And these companies are trading all over the world online. Even over the last number of years, we're still full to capacity. Very many of them are working remotely or working virtually, but they're all currently seeking additional employees, which is a very, very interesting feature. So despite everything and the challenges of COVID, Ireland's still a very attractive location for graduates, and all the employers in Ireland love to employ our international graduates. They find them very tremendous workers, really, really good skills, and they bring a lot of vitality and energy to the companies. A very significant feature of our lives on campus at LYIT is that we host an annual careers fair, which Amanda referred to. And this is when employers from right across Ireland and indeed the UK turn up for a full day, and they have various little exhibition booths where our students can go and speak to prospective employers, discuss their CVs, maybe have an interview, and essentially create pathways for themselves into employment. And it's because we're so anxious to ensure that we position them on that pathway towards attractive careers, that we bring employers from right across Ireland, Northern Ireland, and the UK to campus. In an average year, we have about 70 employers right across the various disciplines who show up and they're actively interested in employing our graduates. So it's a real pleasure for me to be with you this afternoon and evening in beautiful Malaysia. Thank you again to Yi Ming for the opportunity. A sincere thank you to Melissa and CK from my study, and a particular thanks to Amandi, who will probably go back to work in the afternoon or hopefully enjoy your weekend, and a real thanks to Edward and Jill for facilitating it. So do think very seriously. We would want to afford you a very warm welcome if you choose to come to study with us in Ireland, and we wish you every success as you navigate your own exams, and sincere good wishes to you and your families for the remainder of 2021.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John and Dee. I'm sure you all have had a great insights listening from John and Dee, and I personally think like there's no better person to providing an overview and insight of the regional and national employers that we have in Ireland and the job prospects over here. So following that, I'd like to introduce Jill Murphy, the International Education Manager in LYIT. She'll be introducing to she'll be introducing Letterkenny IT, a place where you will call it the second home in the future, and some popular programs that we have for international students. But just before Jill come forward to speak, I'd like to share a video with you here. Before that.
Abu Kabar, my name is Mahir. I'm a new student ambassador in LYIT. I'm currently studying in third year law. The reason why I would like to come to Ireland to study was because I would like to have a true cultural experience, and indeed that's what Donegal can provide to us.
Gia Ditch, my name is Victoria, the President of the International Society here in the LYIT, and I'm here today to tell you why you should choose the LYIT. In 3 words: fun, friendly and affordable.
你好, my name is Xiao Xiao, and I'm the Chinese Students Ambassador and the President of Chinese Society LYIT. Studying in LYIT provides fantastic opportunity to work in Collab, and in summer I got an internship in Collab to work in accounting firm.
The college sits next to the Collab, which is an incubator for small businesses, which provide our international students with excellent internships throughout their holidays.
Vanakkam. I'm Abhi.
I'm Dinesh.
LYIT provides very good student accommodation.
They have good standard job opportunities. You can see a lot of multinational companies here.
My name is Anthony O'Shea, and I'm a 4th year in fire safety engineering at LYIT. One of the major reasons that I came to Letterkenny IT was the price difference. 1 year of college back home would be actually more than 4 years of college at Letterkenny IT.
My name is Lynn,
and I'm Anj.
Why we chose Ireland is because of the people. People here are really well known to be very friendly, warm, and they just makes you want to embrace the culture even more, and you adapt really quickly. It's just warm. The weather is pretty cold here, so with people who are warm, it makes your heart feel warm as well. So it's like a home away from home.
The living cost here and the accommodation and everything, it's so affordable compared to other cities in Ireland, for example in Dublin.
I really enjoy the life and studying in LYIT because of the lecturer in LYIT is so passionate, and they are very happy to answer all the students' questions.
Here at the LYIT, we have a great sense of community amongst our international students. Between weekly meetings, monthly trips and annual parties, we create a warm, friendly atmosphere.
Donegal is the coolest place in the world. The spectacular landscapes are really interesting, especially Mount Errigal and Slave Lakes.
Chinese Society will organize Chinese New Year every year, and we'll introduce our Chinese cultures to Irish people, and we'll let Chinese students in LYT not feel alone and make like the LYT is like a big family.
So if you're a student and looking to study abroad, come join us at Letterkenny Institute of Technology.
Yeah, all right. So that is the video there. And just before Jill starts speaking, like the students saying Donegal is the coolest place on earth is not something that we created ourselves, that we self-proclaimed. It was announced, it was awarded by National Geographic in 2017. So yeah, Jill.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak. It's difficult to speak after such good speakers. It was so nice to hear everybody and hear their experience. So I'm the international manager at LYT, and in 2014 was the first time I went over to Malaysia and had a chance to visit TAR and different cities in Penang and KL. I couldn't believe how hot it was and how nice the food was and how friendly everybody was. We've had a long history of European students coming to Letterkenny and coming to Ireland. And our lecturers and the Irish students were very used to French, German, Spanish students on the campus. But when we said we were going to start bringing in some Malaysian, Chinese, they were very nervous, and they were much more nervous than the students coming to visit were. So the first international non-EU students that actually came to Letterkenny were from Malaysia. And people could not believe how friendly the Malaysian students were. They actually made everybody feel very relaxed, very friendly. All of the staff kept coming up to me for about the first 24 months saying, the Malaysians are so friendly, they're laughing in the corridors, the campus, they're interacting. So people were so delighted that every year now I get asked specifically, how many Malaysian students can come this year? Can I have some in my class? So I think it's a real credit. And as John Andy said, I think the mixture between Irish and Malaysian is very good, and it has worked very, very well. And it's been a real win-win for Letterkenny campus, as well as hopefully the Malaysians. At the beginning, there was only 4 non-EU students in the very first year. We still had the Europeans, but only 4 non-EU students. And I felt so scared that they wouldn't have people to be friends with. In the beginning, I used to pick them up from their accommodation and take them out for coffee because I was thinking, oh, they won't get to know anybody. But they grew and they grew, and they started their own societies on campus. They grew the international society, and they drew in Irish students in with their own societies, and everybody has benefited from Malaysians being on the Letterkenny campus and in Donegal. And that's why I think the Malaysians are able to get good jobs, because they've put themselves out there to be part of the society, not just kept themselves to themselves. They've actually mingled and brought the best of the cultures together. So I think that's why the Malaysians are particularly employable, and they also bring that joy and vitality to the workplace, which the Irish employers really enjoyed. So I think you'll be surprised how easy it is to settle here once you get used to the weather. The Malaysians always tell me at the beginning, oh, it's windy. And I'm saying, I can't see any wind today. But obviously, when you're used to such warm temperature and you come to Letterkenny at the beginning, or Ireland anywhere, it is different weather. But it can be exciting. You can get snow and 4 different types of weather in a 24-hour period sometimes, which the students always find very interesting. So we have 2 campuses in Letterkenny at LYIT. The main campus, as you can see this aerial view here, is the Letterkenny campus, where the majority of our programs are taught on that one campus. A lot of the students would live within walking distance of that campus. So most of the students would maybe walk 5 minutes from their accommodation straight to the campus. So it's Letterkenny is a small enough place. It's a large town, big enough to have all the facilities you'd expect, but it's not a city, which means it's more affordable accommodation, and you can walk from place to place. You won't even need to use public transport unless you want to leave Letterkenny and go to one of the other cities around. These are pictures of on the campus. You can see we'd have all of the modern facilities. It's a very modern campus, and it keeps being expanded and built upon. So everything is very modern, and as you would expect, the quality is very high. The standard of facilities is very high, and you can see different programs, lots of coffee areas. That's CoLab that you've been hearing about and they talked about in the video. That's actually just adjacent to the main teaching facility. So people could walk over and back. People from CoLab come onto the academic campus actually to have their lunch, and there's a good interaction for internships and a chance to meet people that are working at the same time. Some would even maybe be teaching or sharing their expertise in the academic facilities. This is our second campus, which is Killybegs. It's actually about 50 minutes drive from Letterkenny. Students are studying there for culinary. It's a fishing village, very beautiful. And they have purpose-built facilities there to do hotel, bar, culinary, fantastic kitchens. And they actually win an awful lot of national and even international awards. And actually, when I've been traveling around places like Malaysia, I've actually met some of the graduates that have gone on, and I met one graduate in Langkawi a couple of years ago, and he's a graduate of Killybegs, and he opened a fabulous restaurant in Langkawi, and I couldn't believe he'd come all the way from Killybegs to Langkawi. So it opens the opportunities around the world for the students that have studied in Killybegs. So a very impressive place. Okay, Edward, are you going to play? This is a very short 60 seconds virtual tour, if you're able to play that, Edward. Thank you very much, Edward. So just moving on, so you can see from this slide that LYIT has just under 5,000 students. So we're not a huge number of students, which means the students can actually, the staff will know your name. You'll be able to have small study groups, which the students like, especially at the beginning, because even though the accent is not so strong at the beginning, the students always find it difficult. They come running into my office in the first week or two saying, like, what's happening? I don't understand the language, but they just need to settle down. And after, you'll find that by the third week, you're picking up Irish, funny ways of saying things the same as the rest of us. So the accent, you will have heard it from us today, that it's maybe slightly different to the English that you learn when you're in Malaysia, but you will pick it up very quickly. We have a lot of different stats on that slide. I won't go into everything, but basically it's saying that people can go into get very good jobs very quickly once they have graduated, which is what the students want. They want to gain employment. You want to have a good time studying, but you want to get a job and move on with the rest of your life. So Edward, we'll go on to the next one, please. Okay, so there's lots of different programs. I'm not going to go through them all, but what I would just say is there's 4 different schools, and students can choose, whether it's business, computing, engineering, culinary. There's a lot of different ones. In terms of the main thing I would say is for undergraduate degrees in Ireland, there are 4-year programs for an honours degree, and there are 3-year programs for an honours degree. The Malaysian students sometimes choose a 3-year program. If you were to come from TAR and you had already got your diploma, for example, you can go into the final year of a 3rd-year program in something like accounting. Or you can go into the 3rd year of a quantity surveying program straight from TAR to continue. You get advanced entry, which means you're only maybe studying for 1 or 2 years, and then you get your honours degree, and then you get the stay back visa that Edward was talking about, the 1G visa. Some students, particularly students that might come, say for example, in their 3rd or their final year of study, they will do a year or 2 of study. They will do their 1 year stay back. Then they might decide to do a master's. So they do a 1-year master's program, and then they can have up to another 2 years of a visa stay back. What you'll find is it gives you the flexibility, to have the career that you want, whether you want to go straight through, complete a master's and come out and go straight into employment, or if you want to work in between the studying. So there's quite a lot of flexibility. So we have School of Business. So in School of Business, the Malaysian students like to do law, they like to do accounting, and they like to do the business degree. All of those 3 are only 3 years to get a full honours degree rather than 4 years. So the cost of living, is a year less while you're studying. So they're very popular. In terms of the programs, you'll be able to get much more details from my study if you wish to chat to them. We can give links. I don't want to spend all your time now going through all the programs, but just to say there's lots of different opportunities. In a School of Science, the Malaysians, actually quite a few have gone through and done things such as food science, nutrition, and gone on and got very good jobs, or biotech, biology, and different programs in science. Computing is extremely popular, and as Edward and John Andy have said, there's a lot of jobs in the computing sector in Ireland. So students that have come in and done either an honours or a master's degree in computing have got a very high salary on graduation. Or they may start off on what looks like a moderate salary, but within 12 months of working, the salary is jumping very, very high, very fast in that sector. We also have a School of Engineering, and you saw on the video there, we had things like fire safety they talked about. You saw Anthony from America doing fire safety, and quantity surveying, architecture. There's a wide range of programs available, a lot of which have internships built into them, either for a short period for 1 semester or for a whole year, such as Amandi's quantity surveying, where the 3rd year was a full work year. And then culinary and tourism is in the Kilibegs campus, which we spoke about earlier on. So I'll move on from that one. There's great opportunities. Okay, so in terms of the fees and the cost of living, in LYIT, we try to make it as affordable as possible. All of the standard price for non-EU at LYIT is 10,000 euros. But we offer everybody that gets an offer letter gets a discounted scholarship. So we give, for undergraduates doing honours degrees, we give 2,500 of a discount per year. So your annual fee or your tuition fee is 7,500. And then we give a discount for masters and a discount for the research, master's research. So basically you can see on this slide that it's 9,000 for a master's or 7,500 for undergraduate, depending on what you're studying. And they can be reviewed year on year, but that's what it's been for the last couple of years. And we'll find that if you compare that to other places in Ireland, that it's very, very competitive. We actually give the Malaysians the biggest discounts that we can because we're so keen to have them on the campus. So if you compare that to others, you'll see that it's actually a very affordable tuition fee. Okay, so Edward referred to the rent and the cost of living in Letterkenny. It's because it's a town rather than a city. It's much more affordable to get your accommodation, and also the standard of accommodation is good. You can walk to campus from there. Basically, you're looking at around 300 a month for your cost of living. You'll find if you compare that to the likes of Dublin, it's less than half. It's probably about a third of the price of living in Dublin. So it's very affordable while you're trying to study. And if you're working part-time, as Edward said, you can help to cover you know, your cost of living and your food and different things. Or even some students decide not to work and they will just study, and then it's still affordable from that point of view. And then Edward's written on the slides there just some figures for you, so you can grocery and bills and things like that. You'll find that they're fairly standard no matter where in Ireland you're going, depending on your lifestyle. And then the estimated price per year is between 5,000 euros and 6,000 euros, depending, you know, if you're cooking at home or if you're eating out. The Malaysians love to get together and do, oh, I've forgotten the name of it now, but it's a lucky pot or something, where they have all their meals together.
Potluck.
Potluck, yes. So there's lots of that going on, and the Malaysians have done great food fairs along the corridors in LYT. So we've had a chance to sample all the different delights that the students have cooked. So that's the cost of living. A lot of in Ireland, you have a choice between studying at what's traditionally the traditional universities, or there's institutes of technologies and there's private colleges. A lot of the institutes of technologies are very closely aligned to industry, and that's what the differentiation has been historically, rather than the universities have been very research driven and the institutes of technology have been very industry focused. Over the last couple of years, it was decided by the government that they would like to increase the number of universities. So what we've decided to do in Ireland is the institutes of technologies have grouped together. So for example, we've grouped together with IT Sligo and GMIT in Galway, as we're all on the northwest of Ireland. And we are going for university status. So the hope is that in January 2022, we would have university status. This won't change in terms of our degrees are already the same, exact same standard and level of qualification as a traditional university, but the names will change and will be a bigger unit with more campuses at that stage. But we'll keep people informed of that as it's happening. It's an exciting new development for LYIT. I won't go over all those figures, but they'll be on the recording if anybody wants to have a look at them later on. Okay, so there's some links here. Students from Malaysia can talk to My Study or talk to the TAR office, the careers office, to see if they're interested in perhaps coming to further their education in Ireland, and you may choose LYIT, but even if not, there's lots of other opportunities in Ireland of places to study. We're just trying to give you a flavour of where we are in Donegal. We have online application system, which is linked there. And there's also a site which has blogs and videos, and there's a link there for that. And Edward has developed a link tree for us in the international office, which has a lot of great information as well. So all those links will be live. You can click on them later if you wish. Great, Edward. I hand back to you in the first instance, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak. It's been lovely to interact with everybody today. Thank you.
All right, sure. Thank you very much, Jill, for all the information there. And I guess now we'll move on to the Q&A session. If Yiming, you would like to take it over.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Edward, John, Andy, Mandy, and Jill. So hope that everyone is ready. All right, we will be entering the Q&A sessions, and throughout the just now of the conversation, hope that the students, okay, or the participants here, you have some insights with regards to what Ireland has to offer. Okay, some interesting points, okay, and enlightening points, and there are some questions that we have received. So firstly, how is Irish food? What is the best? Or what kind of how is it compared to Malaysian food? Maybe Edward or Mandy?
Yeah, maybe I can answer it like just very quickly. All food is great, and of course Malaysian is the best, but Irish food is great as well. That's my answer. Yeah.
So what kind of
culinary?
Yeah.
It's Western food.
Western.
Yeah, sorry. You wanna say something?
Maybe how does it compare, like for example, is it mostly on the fish or it is a mixed, or what is your favorite Irish dish?
All right. So usually there will be, I think, a meat in a protein course in a meal, and then there will be carbs, and that's usually potatoes, for example, chips, mashed potatoes, and then the meat will usually be either like steak or roast chicken or roast lamb, things like that. And my personal favorite is seafood chowder and black pudding that you will definitely have to try when you come here. Yeah.
I miss the taste.
Yeah,
I
black
like
pudding.
it.
It's really good.
Okay. So yeah, Mandy, anything you want to share?
Yeah, I just think all the food are nice. If it is, to me, it's all kind of in the restaurant in Ireland. It's Western food, but it's tasty. Like they have different food for you to choose: chicken, chicken, pork, duck, everything, or vegetarian, soup, bread, fish and chips, anything. Yeah, just go to the right restaurant, right place, and you find it. There's also some Asian restaurants if you feel like eating Asian food sometimes. So yeah, no worries.
So just to also add on, basically bars and pub also serve food. All right. So it's sort of like a family social place. So it's a little bit different from our Malaysian bars and pub here. Okay. So next question. Is it possible for those who did not graduate in Ireland to also seek employment in Ireland?
Might be a bit hard.
Yeah. Jill, do you want to answer that, or John and Lee?
I was just going to say, obviously with the stay back visa, so if a student has graduated here, they have the advantage of having that period of time without any pressure to look for a job, and they get either the 1 year or the 2 year stay back. If a student has graduated, let's say, for example, in Malaysia and is looking to come to Ireland, they can come to Ireland. At the minute now, things are a little bit up in the air because of the pandemic, but in normal times, a student can come from Malaysia to Ireland without a visa. It's a tourist. I think they get 90 days or 3 months. And some people would come for long holidays. Parents often come to the graduation and might stay and explore Ireland because it's quite a small country and you have the opportunity to travel around relatively easily. So they can come easily without a visa for those 3 months. People that might want to come and actually work here a long time, that's a much more in-depth process. You would need to secure employment basically, and the employment has to be at a high enough salary level to be able to get a work permit. So there's lots of things online and lots of details about that. It isn't something that somebody might jump into, but somebody might know somebody that's here and decide they want to give it a try. Or people have come, especially if you have certain skills, let's say, for example, in accounting, pharmacy, ICT, we have a shortage of people in those areas. So there's lots of people come from Asia and come directly into employment with a permit, a work permit. So yes, there is opportunities, but you have to plan, and you have to be good. Like in any country, you have to be a good candidate to get a job. You can't just walk into them. The same everywhere.
Yeah, I think several of my colleagues. There's one from Malaysia before. She worked with one of my bosses before, so she passed the interview and then she applied for the work visa when she was in Malaysia, and then when she got it, she then fly over here. And there are two other colleagues that are from South Africa. They applied for the interview and they got it, so they just waited in South Africa until they got the permit, and then they flew over here.
Maybe just to add on, it's by having this education or this graduating from an undergrad or postgrad studies in Ireland, you get this 1G, stamp 1G, so you can stay back without the company paying for your visa. So this is an advantage for you. Means employing you is the same as employing any Irish national. So they no need to worry about the visa. And during that 1 year or 2 years, it can be used as your probation period to test your abilities and eventually secure a longer working contract after the visa ends. All right. So moving on, yes, okay, and same also the same question, the same student who asked. Basically, you will need to have a full-time study, part-time work. You can't be studying part-time and then working full-time. That one is considered as a working visa. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So next one. If let's say I don't have my course of study, some courses do include work placement or in work placement semester, part of their course of study. However, during summer break, how long is the duration, or am I allowed to apply for an paid internship?
Yeah.
Jolandi, do you want to go into that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Amanda would have done this at the end of her first year. No, obviously she's an extraordinary candidate for any employer, but it does prove that yes, that is quite possible. Our office, through Jill and myself, and indeed Edward, would help and facilitate students to achieve that. Our exams are often completed at the end of May, so you have June, July and August at least, which is 3 months in which you can actively work, and we would set out specifically to help you achieve a paid internship in that period. Obviously, we have strong links and connections with many employers, particularly in CoLab and in the region, but also nationally as well. And anyone who has employed any of our Malaysian graduates would be very enthusiastic about finding the next Edward or the next Amandi. So, you know, your colleagues from Malaysia have already created that favorable impression on employers, and they would be quite enthusiastic about availing of your expertise.
And one thing that most of our past graduates, Thai UC graduates who graduated from Ireland, is why they are so employed is because of the Malaysian passport.
Yeah, very much.
Because Malaysian passport, you get to enjoy visa-free travel to a lot of countries around the world. So in the company's point of perspective, it's a lesser cost for me to employ you, and you can still travel and do these excursions across the world. Yeah, so it's an advantage, and definitely your language. For Malaysians, at least we know 2 languages, either English or even Bahasa Melayu, or your own dialect or your own, there's a mother tongue, Chinese, Tamil, and other languages. All right, so it all adds to your CV. Okay, so next, this one is in particular for a QS profession. Are there any requirements for QS graduates to register as a professional qualified QS practitioner?
Yeah, so there in Ireland, there's a Society of Chartered Surveyors. I think it's similar to Malaysia's BQSM or RICS. So basically, SSI Ireland basically equals to RICS membership. So yeah, so normally after people graduated for maybe two or 3 years, you start applying for that. So me, I'm not chartered yet, but I'm in the progress of being chartered because I'm gaining experience through my work. So hopefully after 2 years, I can apply for it. That just means I need to sit in an interview, an exam, and then they'll assess my performance and say, okay, you can become a chartered surveyor. But if you want to go back to Malaysia, I think my lecturer said to me that, say if I'm chartered with SCSI, I can transfer it to RICS Malaysia, but I don't know how the process is like exactly. But I think it's possible. Even if you cannot transfer it straight away, and you need to sit some tests, but that's probably still okay. So yeah, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, just on that point, Mandy, there is increasingly internationally mutual recognitions between the various professional bodies. Let's say in Malaysia, it's quantity surveying, it could be law or accounting. And at a global level, the professional bodies are evolving much more coherent pathways and mutual recognitions of international qualifications. And presumably that would apply in the case of quantity surveying as it would in accounting and in other professions. And it's very beneficial for students and graduates who might be moving internationally to have that. There will always be some mechanism by which it needs to be done, but at least the pathways are there.
Yeah, and the same person asked what extra languages will benefit QS. I think currently people are still speaking English. There's no requirements for extra languages yet, but it's best if you can have good listening skills and you can speak the language too, because the accents in Ireland, can be very different, can be hard to understand. And say you graduate a QS and slowly you'll be going to client meetings. You want to be able to understand what they're talking about and then talk to them and even chat to them. So if you can't do that, it might be a bit hard, but it took me years to get used to the accent. So yeah, I'll say listening skills and Irish accents. Yeah, I'll send in a video link and you can listen to all the different kinds of Irish accents.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, John Andy. So on top of this qualification recognition, basically for Board of Engineers Malaysia, it's no issue, it's recognized. However, certain professions like architecture, like QS, and there's a real estate, there is some mechanisms in place, but if you want the details, you can come and look for us, study abroad unit, or even contact my study. We will go into details. All right. It is not suitable for this session, but just to let you know, if you're interested, just let us know. We will guide you through. All right. And in terms of a very hot topic, how is Ireland coping with the pandemic?
John, did you want to take that one?
Yeah.
But I
just John Andy, maybe you can go first, and then you can say what you think then, Amanda.
Yeah, I'm happy to do this. Look, it's been really challenging because we have open borders. We have a land border with Northern Ireland, and we are internationally trading. So we had great difficulty balancing restrictions on travel, which was our biggest challenge throughout all of this. Our students at LYT have been remarkable and have done a tremendous job, and Edward in particular has maintained almost constant connections with them because of the absence of on-campus teaching. We're hugely disappointed because we love the energy of the campus and all of the people who travel there and study there on a daily basis. We've been dealing with the pandemic essentially, as indeed you have, for almost 1 year now, and it's happened in sort of 3 waves. Our initial wave was when it began almost a year ago. Then we had some respite over the summer when things opened up a little bit and we were able to travel and get out and around and about. Then we had a spike in last autumn, which we managed to get under control coming up to Christmas. But then we're very sociable people and we like our families an awful lot. And there was some mixing of people and a gradual restriction, which I think the government felt compelled to allow to happen over Christmas. But sadly and unfortunately, that then caused a spike again. And we are just now getting that right back under complete control. We had hoped to be commencing campus teaching again tomorrow, but that has been postponed for a week. We have some classes that we have to run in person on campus around critical skills, practical skills, labs and practicals, and they will now commence, we hope, on the 15th of March. So it's been difficult. We've worked with the European Union in accessing vaccines. The vaccination programs are rolling out. All of our frontline workers, all of the people in care homes, and all of the people older than 85 years have thankfully got their vaccines. But it has been very, very difficult, and we have had that difficulty largely because of travel, which is where some of the challenges came. But that's our perspective on it. But I would appreciate Amanda and Edwards as well, because obviously you're intimately familiar with what's happening in your home countries, in Malaysia as well. So please feel free to comment on your sense of how we're coping with it.
Yeah, sure. I think John and Lee gave a really great perspective on how Ireland is coping with COVID-19 in general. But from an international student perspective, when during the outbreak of COVID, I thought about going home, but eventually I stayed in Ireland. And Jill knows this. It was a tough process for me as well. And just like many other international students, I didn't know what to do. But I was really, really grateful towards Jill, the international office, my lecturers, my friends in Ireland. Like many of them reached out to me. They took the initiative to reach out to me and asked if I need any help. And they gave me a lot of support through email and all. And I felt like I was taken care of and I was remembered as a student. So like it is really a great thing that makes your experience here much more better when you know that the institute cares for you, and not only that, your lecturers, your friends, they all care for you, and even the government cares for you, because the government introduced the COVID-19 unemployment payment. Yeah, unemployment payment, and international students are also eligible to apply for that. So if say you were in an employment, part-time or full-time, and if you lose your job due to the COVID-19, you'll be eligible to apply for a weekly COVID unemployment payment for, I think, up to €300, if I'm not mistaken, for every week. And you're just treated as the same as any of the Irish citizens or EU citizens here. So I'd say well taken care of. Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of the, on top of that is the location of Ireland. Ireland is the hub for a lot of medical biomedic companies. Pfizer is located in Ireland. So imagine the healthcare, and I just Googled the case in Ireland as of 6th of March is 530 cases. It's a lot far cry from Malaysia, 1,006 today. So you can imagine, right? Amanda, anything you want to add?
Yeah, maybe I'll just add a bit from the work perspective. So we've been working from home since March last year, so nearly a year ago. When the lockdown starts, our company told us to go home and take our laptops and monitors, go home and work from home. So that's what we did. And at some point, they brought people back to the office, maybe 5 people in just one building for a while. And then the cases started to rise, and they said, okay, everyone go home. And then we've been working from home since then. And we, in our company, I have maybe 2 or 3 other Malaysian colleagues. They're actually back in Malaysia now. They are working from home in Malaysia, which is great for them. But they arrange it with their managers. Their managers are happy with them to go home for a few months, so they're fine with that. Yeah, so I think from that perspective, it's great. They can go home. Mm-hmm. I'm still here in Ireland.
And maybe in terms of students who are planning to go to LYIT in September this year, or in the coming intake, what is the plan for LYIT for the coming intake?
I'll just come in there if I can. So in terms of, we have to follow all of the protocols and the guidelines that are laid down by the healthcare and by the government of Ireland. So last September, we followed all the protocols and everybody had to do the same thing. So it was uniform no matter where you went in Ireland. And this September will be the same. We will all be doing the same thing. We just, there's meetings next week to determine what that is. I mean, same as Malaysia, it's an evolving situation. So it's quite difficult to say, oh, you definitely have to do A, B, and C, because it's still quite a time away until September. So what we have done in LYIT is that we've said that when students, say, for example, you're paying a deposit to hold your seat for September, and then let's say, for example, the government says you can't have online classes until a couple of months after you're supposed to. I'm just giving an example. Students could then decide to either get their money back or to defer for a year. So a student, there's an application fee of €20, but they're not actually losing any money. They will be fully informed. We hope that everything will be on campus. We hope that classes will go as normal, or it might be some online and some on campus. But we can't give 100% guarantee yet because it's too soon. But we can guarantee that if a student doesn't like whatever the regulations or the setup is, they can get their money back or they can defer. So at least there's that security that a student is not paying out the money and losing their money without, and then being tied into something. So we're trying to be as flexible as we can, and we're hoping that we will bring them in the same as last year. We'll follow all the rules. We sort of held our hands. Edward had everything laid out. People had videos. They knew what to do. There was no uncertainty when it came to it. We walked the journey with them and brought them in safely, and there was actually no cases of COVID amongst the student population at that time. So whatever it is, we'll do our level best to keep everybody safe and connected.
So there are procedures in place. Students are well taken care of, and they have the experience since last year. So you are in safe hands for students who are planning. You may consider, but of course, with the vaccine rolling out, we are looking at positive downtrend. UK is already seeing the effects of the vaccine. So it's more or less the time comes from Malaysia and across the world who are getting the vaccines rolling out. Okay, so next, in terms of applying to LYIT, in particular, what are the requirements and language requirements, and what are the recognized qualifications? Maybe Edward or Jill?
Yeah, I just come in briefly because obviously I know time is, I'm conscious that you guys might be even getting tired now. It's almost bedtime for you guys, I would say. But I would just say for English level, you're looking at approximately, for an undergraduate degree, you're looking at IELTS 5.5 or the equivalent of that. If it's difficult to get IELTS because of test centers being closed, people are doing Duolingo online and just getting the equivalent of 5.5, or this TEFL, PTE. So 5.5 for an undergraduate and 6.0 for a postgrad, if it's a taught postgrad. Some students are doing a research postgrad, and that's 7. So 5.5 for undergrad, 6 for PG taught, and 7 for research. In terms of other qualifications, we have a long history with TAR of students coming into third year. So we're very familiar with the qualifications that students are coming for. So it's quite a smooth process, and the heads of department recognize everything that you've done previous to coming to LYIT. So that's all explained in the process and very straightforward. If someone's coming into first year, they have to have fully completed their high school qualifications, and we recognize that people go to different types of secondary schools, but we're very familiar with the education system. So it's basically you'd have to have passed your English and your maths, and you'd have to have graduated from secondary school to get into first year.
And basically, just to give an insight, Malaysian SPM 1119, okay, is accepted, grade C and above. And if let's say diploma or degree, sorry, Edward?
So that's correct, yes. I forgot to mention the 1119 is fully acceptable, yes.
Yeah. So for diploma and bachelor degree, if this qualification is fully conducted in English, is on a case-by-case basis, we will review and also based on application. But rest assured, we will assess based on our long-standing relationship and the quality of Malaysian students and Thai UC students going over to LYIT. Basically, there are some. They are quite confident, okay, on our English level. Definitely, there will be some interviews or such if this required, but more or less it's quite straightforward. Okay. All right. Then the next one, in terms of scholarships, as what Edward included in his slides, there are some discounts, okay, for these students, and also it depends on your program of study. If you would like to know more, you can contact us. But on this tuition fee, LYIT is one of the affordable ones, okay, including their living expenses and accommodation. But you are not losing out in terms of the quality. You can see their facilities, you can see their environment. Okay. So let me see. Any other questions? Okay. So let me see. Okay. In terms of job opportunities, besides the CoLab, what are the other support that LYIT would provide or assist students in securing a career?
We have a very progressive careers advisory service on campus. We have dedicated personnel who will work with individual students to review their resume or curriculum vitae and to try to identify pathways forward for them for either further study or directly into employment, Yiming. In addition to that, obviously, we get to know our international students very well, and they are very, very regular visitors to our own offices. So Jill and I would undertake to support and work with them individually if they wished, to help them navigate the next steps in their career. We want them to succeed, and we will use our own networks and our own connections, and indeed the reputations that Edward, Amandi, and others have built to try to ensure we position them for success in the next steps of their careers.
All right, thank you very much, John Andy. So basically, in short, careers or industrial placement or even practical training is the key essence or the focus of the education in Ireland. LYIT has CoLabs has a very comprehensive careers guidance office. So you can see that among the graduates shared earlier, they are securing jobs with big companies, Amazon, there's McDermott, okay, all these kind of big companies. So you have the network, you are paying or you are getting the experience of a quality education and a comprehensive support. So this is the difference. All right. So due to time constraint, is surprisingly about 10 p.m. in Malaysia, but I mean, we are glad that you have a lot of questions, and hopefully we have addressed most of your queries. Okay, and maybe Edward, anything you want to add on?
No, I think I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, we would like to end the session, and before we end, all right, I would like to share some information. Okay, if you are interested or you are considering studying in Ireland in LYIT, you want to know more about the pathways. Diploma in accounting students, you can go into final year in Bachelor in Accounting in Ireland, in LYIT, and also you can get the ACCA exemptions for the 9 papers. The final 4 papers, the strategic professional paper, you will have to take it on your own. It's the same, all right? You are enjoying the same exemptions as studying in RUC, but at a faster rate, okay? So if you're interested, or even other programs, diploma in computer science, engineering, sports science, QS, come and look for us. Okay, Study Abroad Unit, we are offering free online counseling. All you need to do is just WhatsApp us, book us a slot, and we will advise you how to proceed and what you need to prepare. So we are working together with My Study, okay, to place students abroad from the application process, selecting the accommodation, pre-departure briefing, until you are there in Ireland, handed over to LYIT. There's a ground team to greet you at the airport. So rest assured, we provide a one-stop solution, okay, through our networks. So besides that, if let's say you are interested to know more about these webinars or more opportunities, you can follow us at our TAR UC CPE Facebook page. And basically next week, we will also, every weekend, we will have this kind of Ireland series of talks. Okay, so next week we will talk about a different topic in terms of in detail about internship and how is it different from intern in Malaysia and also in overseas. What are the differences? Okay, and coming a few weeks later, we also have different talks about opportunities, what are the courses available, and also other study abroad regarding study abroad, right? So that's about it from us. And anything you want to add from our team from LYIT?
Just to say thank you very much. It's been very enjoyable. It almost felt like I was in Malaysia there for an hour. So so nice to see everyone. And thank you to the students for giving their time on a Sunday evening to listen to us. And I really hope we get the chance to meet them in person when we visit.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you, John Andy. Thank you, Jill, Edward, and Mandy. Right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for facilitating.
All right. And definitely thanks for My Study team, Melissa, CK, and also every one of you attending today's session. All right. And basically, we would like to end our session for today. And definitely, we wish everyone the best of health. Take good care of yourself. And hopefully, with all the things evolving, we are evolving to a better version of ourselves. And take care and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, take care. Have a good day ahead in Ireland, and have a good night, everyone in Malaysia.
Bye.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, John Andy. Thanks, Mandy. Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Edward.
Thanks, Melissa. Bye.
Welcome.
Thanks, Melissa.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Yiming.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's one of the most questions and most responsive
So far.
audience so far. Yeah.
So far.
Great.